Welcome to the Real Table Talk. I'm Tiana Von Johnson.
And I'm Dr. Alicia.
And remember, if it matters in love, life, and relationships,
we're talking about it.
That's right. And today's episode, we are talking about this is going to be good, turning horror into healing, dealing with narcissists.
Narcissist, yes. Love this topic.
This is some topic now. So let's unpack this. Let's unpack this. So dealing with narcissists. Now, I'm not just talking about certain relationships. Like, I'm not just talking about mothers, I'm not just talking about men, even though I'm gonna spend a little time on men. But first, I want to tell you guys a little bit about a horror story of my own in dealing with a narcissist. So let me tell you first that narcissists are not coming with a shirt. You see how my shirt says rare? They are not coming with a shirt that says, I am a narcissist, stay away. I actually wish they would. It would just kind of help us, decipher some of that.
Well, it's so funny because it's a conundrum, because if you are a narcissist, you're not going to say that you are.
Yeah.
That's impacted in the definition of being a narcissist.
I just hope that they would, but we know that that's not happening. But the point is, narcissists do not come with a shirt that says, I am a narc, stay away. They are coming handsome. They are smelling good. They are suited and booted. They are coming to do all the things, make you feel so good and wonderful. And most times when we attract that type of person, which for us, we're normal. So when we see them coming, we're thinking that they're normal too, but they are not. That is all a disguise. So while I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time unpacking what a narcissist is, all the different levels, covert, do that research. But the point is, these narcissists are coming to destroy you, okay? They are coming to destroy you. So let me tell you my own little horror story. So when I was in all my glory and I was doing my thing and building my empire, I was missing one critical thing, and that was love. I'm still missing that one critical thing, but I digress. The point is, I was missing one critical thing, and because my lack of love for so long created, on top of all my other brokenness, it created this yearn for someone, and in that point in my life, it almost didn't matter. That was like the desperate little girl operating from a place of just someone come, because I was missing the love from my father, missing the love from my mother, and I just wanted something. I wanted someone to hold on to me, make me feel safe. And so I attracted what I like to call a broken man who broke me down to the lowest level of myself, but that I didn't know I needed to be broken down to. But here's what happened. He was someone who, he didn't have a whole lot, he had a decent job. He didn't have a whole lot. He was raising children essentially on his own. And he saw me and he preyed on me in a lot of ways. And I guess I had a sign on my chest that said, come on, prey on me. But when he came, he was very nice. He was very sweet. But the red flags came almost immediately, because some narcissists are not able to put that down. Yeah. And although I saw a lot of red flags, I saw the verbal abuse, some physical abuse, I still kept going and going. So before I go any deeper, even into that in my story, what from your perspective, I know I felt like I was operating in broken little girl, but what from your perspective do you see?
I see a lot. I see this particular man who is coming across with not his authentic self, but with a version of himself that he knows that he can sustain, that he knows that he can never continue into be, but he understands that this is what he has to put forward in order to get you. Yeah. Why? Because underneath it is a deep level of insecurity. So people who are narcissistic or have narcissistic tendencies, they put up this shield. It's not authentic to who and what they are. It's what they feel like they need to be. And I'm not certain in the moment if they're aware that they can't sustain this. Okay? So on your end, maybe if you're coming into a relationship and you're not whole and you're needy. Yeah. And you see this person and the image of this person that can give you what you feel like you've been missing, and they're actually giving that to you and it feels good. But on the other hand, these red flags are coming out. That doesn't feel good. But the feeling good feels so good that you tend to ignore this. And a lot of women have these issues. And a lot of women need to kind of fill themselves up so that they are not susceptible to men who are narcissistic, who, by the way, are needy in themselves. They are injured too.
That's a critical part, because they are injured, they are needy. So now you have these two needy, injured people disguised with beauty and grace and amazingness coming together.
You know, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't tend to label people narcissistic, because only 10% of the world has a personality disorder, and let's say 1% of them may have narcissistic personality disorder. Instead of labeling people, I tend to focus on what happened, what's the dynamic between the two people, and what led to that. Why were you triggered in that moment? What can we do if you're insecure to build yourself up so that you feel good about yourself? If you feel good about yourself, you're going to treat your partner good. And if you feel good about yourself, you're going to say, I was wrong. Now, I made a mistake.
I do want to unpack that, because I've heard several therapists in different groups that I'm in say about the non-label. And I remember being in a dispute with a woman. It was a healthy dialogue about the label. And she was adamant. And to a degree, I understood her point about the label. And I know for me, I didn't know what it was. So when I explored it and then I learned the term and I understood the gravity of it, is so deep. So why, I'm just curious from a therapeutic standpoint, why do you feel to remove the label? Like, why shouldn't we understand it with the label? Like, abuse is abuse. That is a label, essentially. A narcissist is a narcissist.
Well, I think because, first of all,
does it do something? Does it help us in any way?
People who have tendencies one way or another, they're more than just that label. So if somebody has major depression disorder, they can take some medicine for it, they can treat it, but they're a mom, they're a daughter, they're a father. They encompass so many different areas. And if you reduce somebody down to this label, you're contributing to the problem. When people come to me and they say, Dr. Alicia, I'm really upset because I'm dating this narcissist. And I say, hold on, tell me exactly what happened. Yeah. Let's break this down. And then when we get into the bits and pieces of the interactions between you and another person, I'm able to deconstruct that and say, okay, well, part of it is your neediness. Okay, so maybe instead of expecting him to just magically know what you want, how about you articulate exactly what you want? Because men can't read our minds. Yeah. We expect men to know. And then if I'm talking to a gentleman here and she's like, I'm bringing in my narcissist boyfriend or whatever, and I get down to the bottom of it and I talk to him, he'll say, you know what, when I was growing up, I never got positive encouragement from my mother. My mother left me at a young age, and I've always wondered what happened. So every time my partner leaves the house and she doesn't come back the way she wants, that sets me off. Yeah. And so if I dig into that and have these great dialogue between the two of them, guess what? The labels go away and they have a healthier relationship. What are we going to do with people who are narcissistic? We're just going to throw them in the river somewhere and say goodbye to them? No, I instill hope. I don't know if you've ever been. Have you ever been one of them? See how it's crickets? I'm on the left side and I've dealt with them. Multiple. But I understand your point. I understand your point about the labels. And it is true. We do have to separate them from it and really unpack it and go deeper. How are we going to treat people? They're broken too.
Yes, they are broken, damaged.
And I talk about boundaries. Yeah. I'm like, hey, wifey, if he comes home and he calls you names and he doesn't apologize for it, he doesn't get to sleep in the bed with you. You go sleep somewhere else. Like, I got you. It's raising up her so that she can articulate herself to say, there's consequences to your behavior. Yeah. If you're going to call me names, and you're not going to respect me the way I want to be respected, I don't sleep in the bed with you. You don't get to be in the house with me. So there can be consequences. I'm not saying allow somebody to treat you any old kind of way, but it's like you don't get to sleep in the bed with me. And eventually it's like you don't get to be in the house with me until you learn to show up the way it needs to be. We can go to therapy. We can try to figure it out, but I'm not your mother.
I got you.
Take it out on her.
I got you. Yeah. All right. So back to horror into healing. And horror into healing and my story. So in that time that I was going through this horrific situation, I didn't know what it was. So we're going to separate my story from the title, to your point. Just this was my experience. Mm-hmm. My experience was a damaged man who looked at me not as a queen, not as a beautiful woman that we could build and grow and do amazing things together, that I can come into his life and bring great value. Perhaps he can come into my life and bring great value. He wanted to destroy me, and he was abusive, and he was toxic, and he was all the things. And even, I'm so embarrassed to even say this, but I'll share. I remember a time where I was feeling what we all feel in our nervous system. I knew something was off. And so I went to his house, and I had his daughter with me. I'm not proud of this story, but this is what happened. I went to his house, and I called him up, and I'm like, hey, where are you? He's like, I'm not here. I'm at work. And I'm like, that nervous system was still talking to me like, no, something is not right. Off. Mm-hmm. And so I put his daughter in the window. I did. And got in. And when I went upstairs and I opened his bedroom door, he was in there with another woman. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I had keys in my hand. And I wonder if I can say this without, you think I can get arrested like now if I tell this story?
No, go share as much as you feel comfortable.
But I'm scared. No, I don't want to get up to jail.
What happened?
I started to lash out.
Yeah.
My mind was not there. That's why that show Snapped is like a real thing.
Okay, yes.
I snapped. Mm-hmm. So I'm going off. There's this woman that's just freaking out. I'm freaking out because the sight of it, that's why when we were talking the other day about cheating, like the scar it leaves, and that's also what I wanted to talk about, whether it's narcissist or just abuse, the scar it leaves is so damaging. In that moment, I felt ripped apart.
Yes.
But here's what was interesting in hindsight when I reflect on the story. It's so much commotion in the house. The daughter's seeing this, so now she's...
How old was she, by the way?
Maybe 9 or 10. This was deep from her perspective. Mm-hmm. The woman who was there had no idea what was going on. Know. And she had been with him for years and years. I'm not knowing what's going on. He knew exactly what was going on. And in that moment, she's like trying to get dressed because they were like in not much clothes. Mm-hmm. And so but here's what happened. He's kind of pulling me to the side, whispering in my ear this apology, but not loud enough for everyone to hear. And I'm like going off. And then she finally comes to the surface after getting dressed. And I'm like, who are you? She's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm his woman of like 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, what? Like, so all this is happening. And then I think in that moment, I don't know if it was a piece of empathy that he had or a piece of whatever was going on in his mind. Well, it switched.
I don't know if it was empathy, but
it was
he's trying to get out of the sticky situation.
Well, let me tell you how he tried to get out of it. She left because she's like, I'm over this, I'm over you.
Yeah.
And so here I am sitting there, and so now his, whatever that was, that I'm calling some tiny piece of empathy, turned to rage. And that rage led to him dragging me by the feet down the steps. Mm-hmm. So here I am screaming, being dragged down the steps, only to now I'm getting abused because of what I found you doing. So now I'm getting cursed out, dragged, told to leave. And so just imagine, so I'm a woman who's never experienced that kind of pain, that kind of trauma. Do you know, like, that is horrible. Let's unpack that.
It's it's a crime of passion. A crime of passion without the compassion.
That part.
It's a crime of passion. I think that is the most horrific thing that could ever happen to somebody. I'm really sorry that happened to you. I can't even share half of these stories that you're sharing, but I really appreciate that you're sharing this because, you know, on this side of this table where I'm sitting, I hear stories like this, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't share stories of my clients because of confidentiality, but I love your illustrations because, things like that happen. You know, you have to give yourself grace and understanding, and he didn't call the cops. The cops weren't called, and this poor little 9-year-old girl is experiencing something probably horrific. But whose fault is it really? It's his fault. Yeah. I put the onus back on him, that his fault, he shouldn't have done that. In hindsight, what do you wish you would have done differently?
I wish that I would have listened to my gut, listened to my nervous system, did not ignore the red flags, because there were things that were like that I saw even before this experience.
So what happened? Did you ever speak up when you noticed something was off? Did you ever say?
I did, but you got to remember, when you're battling with the little girl, when you're battling with just wanting to be and making this work, you ignore things that are right in your face, and I ignored it, and I take responsibility. But how did I turn that around? How did I turn that into healing? Well, it started with me really learning, and that's why when I talk about narcissistic abuse and learning and understanding abuse cycles and how they, the narcissistic abuse cycle and how they eventually discard you, which I was discarded, but on a future episode, I'm going to talk about my reframe for discard.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
because I was totally feeling, when we feel discarded, we totally feel horrible, but I totally have a reframe for that I'll bring up in other episodes. But I had to learn it. And that's why I think for me, the whole label thing, or just the kind of learning it thing, I mean, I listened to countless podcasts, read countless books. I needed to understand what that was that I'd gone through. And trust me, the story didn't stop there, because I actually moved him in.
Well, okay, that's interesting, because, an experience like that can actually leave a person with post-traumatic stress disorder. Did you have symptoms of PTSD?
Let me tell you, the next 24 to 48 hours, I couldn't even regulate.
Okay.
My body was just shaking up and down. He was sleeping peacefully. Like, he was relaxed on the couch.
Well, that's what
I didn't even want to leave his side, because the thought of, okay, I was cheated on, but the thought that maybe he would call her, or maybe I was operating from such a broken place. It was ruminating. My nervous system was in shambles.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And let me tell you how broken I was. I remember when we finally talked about it the next day, I gave him these rules, like, if he's like, I just want to be with you, I want to work it out. I'm like, well, this is horrible. If we're gonna work it out, then we have to hurry up and get married. You have to move in right away. I'm calling the devil in. I am calling the devil in to marry me. Like, what?
Oh, fast forward,
because in my broken mind,
nervous,
the faster I was his wife, maybe things would get better. It was, trust me, when I look at that, it was horrible. So the story doesn't stop here, but I just want to skip over lots and lots of more trauma inflicted on me and get to the healing part, because there's a lot of women with stories. And so the healing part for me was when he finally left. So now we're talking a couple of years later. Thank God I did not stay in that situation for years, and 10, 20, 30 years.
Okay.
But I remember being in this fetal position in pain, and cops were called at that time. So it was another thing that even the daughter saw, cops outside. It was horrible. But the point is, my healing journey started there, but healing, it required so much intentionality. It's not enough to just say, I'm healing. Like, let me go down this road of healing. Let me go get some massages and light some candles. No. Let me do self-care.
Take out my credit card and spend some money.
Right, let me do self-care, so let me take a bubble bath. It is so much deeper than that. Therapy, self-understanding, getting to the root and the core of what that was and why you're operating from this broken place. How do we heal that? How do we talk to and heal our younger self? How do we do the things? I know from a therapeutic standpoint, I'm sure there's plenty you can share. But go ahead, you take it.
No, I mean, this is good. Being able to go back to the beginning and be able to say, what are the things that you did that you regretted? And when I meet with clients, we make a list of it. Give me the 5 things that you regret, and we write it down. I love that. And I say, the first, number 1. What was the first? What was, just for conversation, name 1 thing that you regret, that you did, and you look back on, you're like, you know what, I regret that.
I did not have standards for myself.
Okay.
At that time.
You let your standards lapse.
Yes.
So that's it. In the moment that you did not adhere to the standards that you knew you needed to adhere to, what were you feeling in that moment? The feeling. It's labeling the feeling in that moment of all of the things that you regret. And what you'll see, there's patterns. And then you say, okay, suppose you were feeling angry. Okay, tell me about your history with anger. And it goes back and you start to tell a story. And then once you unpack all of that, unpacking things, then you say, okay, if you had to do it all over again, what would be different? What would you do different and how would you feel in that moment? And also, how do we make amends? Yeah. What are the lessons learned? What are the lessons learned? How do we make amends? Which is like, how do we go forward? Learning what you've learned from those regrets. What are you now going to do differently? And that is really how you heal and grow. Like those are, there's other steps involved, but that's really like an outline of how you can take somebody from that place and you can move them forward so that they come out of it feeling good about themselves, being able to share your story. Thank you. Gosh, you got stories.
Oh, we trust
and
me.
Understanding that.
We are going to continue to unpack that. Let me give some takeaways.
Yes.
Before I do, this episode was sponsored by Rarity New York. Go to theRareBag.com for all things rare. And so just some takeaways for me is peace is a valid reason to walk away. For me, I had to understand what peace was like in my life and say, I would rather be there and walk away. You deserve more than you accept. Like, we do not have to accept any of this. We deserve more and we can walk away. You do get to choose, you get to decide. And deal with the consequences of your actions. When I stayed and moved him in, the consequences came. He got worse and worse and worse. So,
no, I really think that is great. And I think peace is valid. Yeah. And think about it in this way where you can just kind of establish, what does peace look like for me? And how, if you bring somebody into that fold and that's disrupted, it's not just throw them away, but if you have a conversation with that person about what was bothering you and they dismiss you, that's a red flag that I don't think you need to ignore.
Absolutely.
So don't ignore the red flags. If you bring a concern to somebody and they dismiss you, that lets you know that maybe this is not the person you need to be in a relationship with. So
with that said, you can totally turn that horror into healing.
Yes.
And I'll say this, what hurt you was real. What you're choosing now is freedom. You get to choose. Okay. Let's take a moment to hear from our co-host, Char Curry. Let's talk about it, Char.
So this is something that I have been talking about for years. I do not deal with the labels. I deal with behaviors. So, and let me just say this. A narcissist can be a male or a female. I have heard a lot about the men, but let me tell you, there are a lot of women out there that deal with these type of tendencies. And also, let me just say this. You, as their spouse, you cannot diagnose them. You cannot diagnose your spouse as a narcissist. You can't. Because it takes multiple sessions in order to even be able to diagnose a narcissist. So a lot of y'all sit there calling your wife and your husband a narcissist, not even knowing that there could be certain tendencies or certain behaviors or certain characteristics that they carry, but they're not a full-blown narcissist. A lot of y'all have taken this buzzword and ran with it, and you don't even know what it means. Like, seriously. And let me just say this. A lot of people put up with a lot of narcissistic characteristics because they are lonely. Everybody wants somebody, okay? So what happens is a lot of these narcissists, they will prey on people who are lonely or that they know are needy. And so what happens is you're sitting up here talking about, oh, I want to be with somebody, and this person comes along and love bombs you and sweeps you off your feet, and all of a sudden, now you're in this relationship where this person is being manipulative. They're sitting up there gaslighting you. They're sitting up there physically, mentally, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be emotional abuse, because that's how narcs get you. Let's talk about that. Narcs get you by taking control or putting a spin on your own thoughts. Let's talk about that, okay? And you have to understand this part. A lot of y'all are codependent upon a narcissist and you don't even know. So let's talk about the behaviors, okay? So a lot of the behaviors are the grandiose feeling of themselves, the fact that they don't apologize, the fact that they don't take accountability for themselves, the fact that they're always pointing the finger at you, okay? So let's talk about that. But on the flip side of that, are you a narcissist? A lot of narcissists will label other people as narcissists because that is how they get the upper hand on you. And a lot of times what happens is they have yes men and they have family and friends and people around them that have actually fed into said narcissism, and they are the yes men. They are the flying monkeys. They are the ones that reach out to you when this person can't get a hold of you because you done set boundaries and you done seen what behaviors that they display. That's the reason why I will never deal with titles or labels. I will always deal with the behaviors, because a person can display narcissistic characteristics. 9 times out of 10, regular common people will display certain characteristics, but in order to fully diagnose someone as a full-blown narcissist, it takes multiple appointments. So you cannot diagnose your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend as a narc, when in reality, what credentials do you really have to diagnose them with?
So just know that if it matters in love, life, and relationships,
oh my gosh, it definitely matters to us.
yes, and we are talking about it. So we will see you on the next episode.
Bye, everybody.